Broke and depressed, Denise goes on a month-long binge with Michael in tow.
The one thing that was solid in her life, this bar, this family, this job, was now gone.
Just a job.
I need it.
She was starting to come apart at the seams.
Hock, are you ready to order?
Yes.
Denise is out of control and determined to take back what's hers.
What's up, Panic Fam? I'm Hannah. And if it's 2 a.m., the lights are off and the popcorn has gone cold, you know, it's Panic TV time. Welcome. If you survived this, and this, congratulations, all right? Congratulations. But your luck runs out here.
Denise Holsinger longs to escape her unhappy marriage.
She was starting to rebel against the life that she had.
But when she gains her independence, she spirals out of control.
They had been drinking a lot, going to one bar to another.
They were pawning a lot of things. That money went to drugs, went to alcohol.
And soon, she will bring misery to everyone around her.
She knew how to play people to get what she wanted.
Do it!
When asked why it happened, she said, "Because I'm a sexy mother."
Virginia Beach, an oceanfront playground in the shadows of the world's biggest naval base. This 35-mile swath of coastline is a huge draw in the southeast corner of Virginia.
It swells to millions in the summertime. It can be lively at the oceanfront. The city prides itself in having one of the lowest crime rates in the entire United States.
But on the night of June 30th, 1994, a senseless crime rocks the community. 4 people have been murdered inside a beloved local tavern called the Witchduck Inn. Police race to the scene in the early morning hours.
All of our victims were shot in the head, execution style, and the cash registers were empty. I spent 16 years in homicide, and by far, this was the worst crime scene I'd ever seen.
Locals are shocked. And the following morning, people gather outside the tavern looking for answers. Among the onlookers is 29-year-old Denise Holsinger, a former employee. She is distraught like everyone else, but maybe a little too distraught. Denise Holsinger is born in 1964, and her family eventually settles in Phoenix, Arizona. But her happy home life is shattered when her father walks out on the family.
For most little girls, the first man in their life is their dad. And to have him get up and walk out and leave her, had to leave her with a very poor sense of herself, a lack of worthiness.
When her mother remarries, it only gets worse for Denise. Her stepfather molests her when she's just 8 years old.
She had questions about it, and the stepfather always said, "Don't worry, this is what dads and daughters do." And she bought it.
The abuse continues for 5 years. By the time she turns 13, Denise has had enough. She runs away from home and begins a life on the streets. In no time, she's doing drugs, drinking, and hanging out with older boys, and eventually, older men. Denise will do anything for a warm bed.
She would meet men and go home with men and almost trade sex as a currency.
keenly aware of the power she has over men, Denise begins exotic dancing. But it's a dangerous way to live. Men often take advantage of Denise.
Sometimes she would just want to have some company, and men sometimes were not as understanding of that, and she was forced into sex.
She begins gaining weight, perhaps as a sort of defense mechanism.
Denise was changing her body image in a way to protect herself from unwanted attractions that might lead to sexual assault and further victimization.
But Denise finally finds some stability at age 19 when she meets a trustworthy Navy man named Mark. They marry in 1984 and have 3 children. But by 1989, Denise is overweight, overwhelmed, and feeling trapped in her marriage.
You can't even look after yourself.
She did not feel that she was very valued, didn't feel she had a voice, didn't feel that she had a role other than to be his wife, to be the mother of the kids.
Denise relies on an old remedy for the pain.
Denise finds a friend in the form of drugs and alcohol, something to bring her temporary escape from her worries and fears.
And her marriage falls apart.
There's a lot of knockdown, drag out, screaming matches in the Hold-Singer household.
Denise is desperate to break free, but the place she's headed is not on anyone's map. At 27, Denise Hold-Singer is overweight and stuck in an unhappy marriage. The family moves to Virginia Beach in February of 1992, and Denise's self-worth shrivels to almost nothing.
She is getting heavier, and a lot of the striking figure she had before, or a lot of the attention she was getting before, was just ebbing away.
Fed up, she decides to get gastric bypass surgery.
When she shrunk, she became literally half the woman she was before.
Here is a liberated, powerful, capable, effective human being, the person she wanted to be.
Denise transforms, reclaiming her looks and her confidence.
Her figure was back. She was getting more attention again from people who were outside of her immediate family. And when she could turn ahead, she felt good about herself.
The time is right to escape her unhappy marriage.
Denise was starting to rebel a little bit against the life that she had. It was far more confining than she wanted.
And in May of 1994, she leaves her husband and 3 young children for good.
Personal history is repeating itself. Denise was abandoned by her dad. She's also abandoning her caregiving responsibility to her own children.
Newly independent, Denise applies for a job at a local tavern, the Witchduck Inn, owned by a Vietnamese immigrant named Lam Van Son.
Lam got a lot of friends, and everybody loved him. He always tried to please everybody, trust everybody. He always get a lot of respect from everybody in the family. Oh, I know he's the best friend I ever had.
Lam empathizes with Denise's plight and hires her as a waitress.
She's single, she divorced, and she really needs a job.
Say, girl, you the finest thing I see.
On the job, Denise meets a regular at the bar, a 32-year-old drifter named Michael Claggett.
Michael Claggett had some burglary convictions. He had some petty crime convictions. He was not violent. He was just trying to eke out a blue-collar life with some bumps in the road.
Denise begins seeing Claggett, but not just him.
Denise was spending a lot of time with Michael, but I don't believe she was exclusively spending time with him. Michael was believing the time that was his girlfriend.
Denise sees in Mike Claggett someone she can easily manipulate And that's essential for Denise getting what she wants.
And before long, what Denise wants is crystal meth. After all, it's a great way to keep the weight off. She parties with Michael every chance she gets. Denise starts to unravel, and her nasty habits put her on shaky ground with her employer.
She called in sick all the time, and she bring the liquor in the bar.
They were always trying to scramble to get money. They were pawning a lot of things. And that money went to drugs, went to alcohol.
Lamb is fed up with Denise's behavior and tells her to take a leave of absence to get clean.
She was very disappointed that she blew it. But there was still some sense of, I just can't catch a break. Life is just not fair to me.
Despite her mistakes, Lamb still shows Denise kindness.
Anybody that he let go or fired, any employee, was banned from the tavern. And he made an exception with Denise Holsinger.
Broke and depressed, Denise goes on a month-long binge with Michael in tow.
The one thing that was solid in her life, this bar, this family, this job, was now gone.
It's just a job. Get on
I need it.
She was starting to come apart at the seams.
Hock, are you ready to order?
Denise is out of control and determined to take back what's hers.
Ugh, I swear my neighbors think I'm probably getting murdered right now.
In June of 1994, Denise Holsinger and her boyfriend Michael 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐭𝐭𝐲 are on an epic bender. At the end of the month, the couple enjoys an intimate birthday celebration for Michael.
What would you do for me?
Anything.
And after, Denise tells him her plan to keep the party going.
Denise brought up the idea that it would be good for them to rob the Witchduck Inn.
There was some thought that it was Navy payday. And if they hit that bar, they could walk away with a lot of money.
Michael knows this is dangerous, but Denise seduces him into playing along.
It was like it was just being soaked into his brain, and he was almost automatically kind of going along with what she was saying.
Michael grabs his roommate's .357 revolver, and they head over to the Witchduck Inn. Denise cases the joint, while Michael anxiously waits outside.
She went in, turned through the bar, came back out and said there were 4 people in there. She knew them all.
When the two enter, Denise locks the door behind her. It's just before midnight at the tavern. Lamb Van's son works in the back as the crowd dies down. It's go time.
Do it. Just do it.
He was kind of hesitant, and Denise kept looking over to him and mouthing to him,
Do it.
"Do it." I think at that time, Michael finally got the courage to do it.
Everybody down! On the floor now!
Michael 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐭𝐭𝐲 hurdles the bar. He is tall, lands on that bar and pulls out the gun.
Now! You! Everybody! You! Out! Out!
Go. Come on, let's go.
Everybody.
Let's go.
Denise runs in and starts cleaning out the cash register, starts throwing all the money into her purse.
One of the remaining patrons is a former Navy
Down
man,
on the ground, man!
and he doesn't take Denise and Michael seriously.
He's pointing a .357 revolver right at Wendell Parrish's face.
I ain't playing with you, man. Get on the ground, now!
And Wendell Parrish looks at him and says, "Do it."
You have to shoot me. Now! You! Out! Out!
Denise Holsinger and Michael 𝐏𝐿𝐴𝐞𝐿 are holding patrons of the Witchduck Inn at gunpoint.
Not getting on the
When
ground.
Navy man Wendell Parrish doesn't comply with their demands, the robbery takes a deadly turn.
Wendell Parrish remained in his seat.
I ain't playing with you, man. Get on the ground, now! Shoot me. You have to shoot me. On the ground, man!
And Michael 𝐏𝐿𝐴𝐞𝐿 pulled the trigger. That was the first person to die.
Come on, kill them all.
One by one, Michael points the gun at each of their heads and pulls the trigger. In just moments, 4 people he knew, his friends, are all dead in the Witchduck Inn.
Including Denise's former boss, Lam Van's son. On the way out, Denise sees Lam's 5-year-old son, Joshua, asleep in the office.
Leaving witnesses.
He's a kid. He's a little kid.
She urges Michael to shoot him too. But Michael stops in his tracks.
Michael had this flash of consciousness and said, "I can't shoot this boy." And he said no, and out the back they went. The boy slept through his father's murder.
With only $400 in hand, they flee. Minutes after the crime, customers discover the grisly scene. Police respond immediately.
When they walked in there and saw that 4 people had been shot, they never thought, this is a robbery, they knew there was something far more sinister involved.
There was blood everywhere, all over the bar, all over the entire floor. Half of that bar was covered in blood.
Lam's wife, Lana, races to the Witchduck Inn.
I said, oh my God, so where's my husband? And my bartender said, Lam's dead. I screamed so loud and I leaned against the wall in the back, and I think a couple policemen would try to hold on to me because I would about fall down. All I got in my mind that time just, my God, I lost a best friend.
Denise and Michael hide out at home.
They turned on the television there, and they watched the news coverage of us investigating the killings at the Witchduck Inn.
When Denise heads to the crime scene to allay suspicion, her plan backfires. Police hone in on her as a potential suspect.
She was acting a little strange. She was really over the top.
Yesterday, I think.
She can't believe it. She is wailing. These are her friends. How could somebody do it?
Full of remorse, Michael joins the crowd and consoles Lana.
Michael come up and hugged me, and he told me, Lon, please take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself now, girl. Take care of yourself. You got to.
I never forget that.
That evening, Michael and Denise hit a local bar to blow off steam.
Another one. What did you have?
They've gotten $400 for killing 4 people, $100 a life.
We got $400.
She is sucking down these white Russians with blood money.
Look, you can get 6 beers for what you pay for that one drink. All right?
Shut
You
up.
do this every time we go out. Look, you do what you want to do.
I will.
You do what you want to do. I've had it. Look, get your own way.
Michael leaves the bar alone. Less than 24 hours after the murder, police spot Denise in her car and pull her over.
Right there at the traffic stop, she gave him up and said that she didn't know where he was. They had been together drinking, but they got into an argument and left.
In custody, Denise eventually reveals what happened inside the Witchduck Inn.
Denise was asked, why would Michael 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐭𝐭𝐲 kill his friends for you? And she sat up in her chair and looked directly at the detectives, and he said, because I'm a sexy mother.
If you could slap one character for their dumb decisions, who would it be? Huh? Go on. Vent in the comments. I can't wait to read.
Authorities hunt down Michael 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐿.
The uniform officer ran across him just a short distance away from his condo. He was laying in a bush sleeping.
He is arrested and makes a full confession, admitting he was sucked into Denise's sinister plan.
Yeah, I carried it out. We killed all 4 of them. and I knew them all.
He became very emotional. He started crying, told me how he killed everyone. He kept telling me that Lan Van's son was his friend, that everybody in that bar was his friends, that he had killed them. And he was extremely remorseful for what he had done.
They both deny murder was ever part of their original plan, but police don't buy it.
They were going to rob the Witchduck Inn. Everybody in that bar was going to have to die because everybody knew them.
No one who knows her can believe Denise was capable of plotting such a brutal crime.
I didn't know Denise was involved in it.
Be honest. Did you watch the last scene through your fingers? Comment yes or no.
Shocked. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it.
Triggerman Michael Claggett is convicted of first-degree murder and is sentenced to death by electric chair.
I knew I was going to be found guilty, and I knew most likely I was going to get the death penalty.
On July 6, 2000, almost 6 years to the day of the brutal slaying, Michael Claggett is put to death. Denise ห์pleads guilty and is sentenced to over 5 consecutive life terms with the possibility of parole.
Denise ห์used what she had, her looks, her persuasion, to manipulate Michael Claggett. She turned him into a follower because without her, those people would be alive today.
All Denise wanted was her freedom, and now it's likely she will spend the rest of her life behind bars. And Lana's son will always struggle with the loss of her husband.
But I do miss him every day. Matter of fact, I still wear his wedding band. And I start realizing that every day, at least, I still have my son.